I'm not ready to take over the throne. Am I even the right man? So this series has several characters it follows, but it starts with Sauron, a prince who's been chased out of his home by his uncle who's just murdered the queen, Sauron's mother. I knew the series would follow Sauron and how he dealt with all of the challenges that he was going to face as the series progressed, so as a voice actor, I knew it was important to give him a young, naive voice at the start, but that I knew I could develop into something more experienced and jaded as the series went on.
The Queen is dead. Long live King Zaki.
The uncle that commits soricide at the start of the series, that's a new word I learnt, killing one's sister. So Meg Cowley, the author, and I discussed this voice quite a lot. A villain can make or break a book, so we knew we had to get it spot on. He had to have a regal voice that was under control and powerful, but that could become quite unhinged and bloodthirsty at times. So that was a lot of fun, making a character that really goes quite insane at moments, but also has that element of power and control when he's not insane. I'm not a little girl anymore, Father. Eve was one of my favourite characters in this series. I think next to Sauron, she shows the most progression out of anyone. She's got a somewhat relatable beginning, being held back by her father, who's keeping secrets about her mother and her past. She's really the lens through which we learn a lot about the history of this deep world that Meg's created. So it's exciting to see her explore the different avenues of the world and its history that we as listeners are experiencing for the first time as well.
For a millennia, dragons have watched and not interfered.
Dragons. So, Meg and I spent a long time discussing the voices for the dragons. We needed something that obviously sounded like a dragon, but wasn't going to destroy my voice in 5 seconds flat. I can only go so gravelly and deep. So we found a way that we could differentiate between the dragons, and specifically between the younger, more naive, adventurous dragons and the older, fiercer, but more stuck in their ways. That wasn't going to just decimate my vocal cords in a matter of minutes.
You are all doomed.
So the elementals were basically gods, but they had to sound different from the dragons. You know, normally if I'm going to do a god, you just go deep and gravelly with a lot of gravitas, but we've done that for the dragons. So there's a fire elemental in this series, and at some point I think his voice is described as sounding like a roaring fire, which has got to be one of the bigger challenges in this series that I faced. Just try that yourself. Try and sound like a fire. But that was a lot of fun. So yeah, these books are part of a massive world that the authors created, spanning several series that I have also narrated. The Chronicles of Pelennor is a series that is almost complete now, just the final book to come out, which is just about to start recording. All these characters, there's different groups of characters, exist in the same world, but are exploring different parts of it in different avenues. It's been a real privilege to be able to sort of bring this already living and breathing world to audio form and give the characters and the world a sound that hasn't really been heard before. The Caledan Trilogy has its own language, which was a challenge in and of itself, but it's kind of exciting to be the first one to speak a language. So give it a listen, and I really hope that you can enjoy the voices and sounds given to this really deep, living and breathing world that Meg Cowley has created.